Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now October 3rd of 2023, and given that Bob Iger and the Disney Board of Directors have been in a constant shakeup over his cost containment plan, over all of the budgeting restrictions that are taking place, cutbacks as well as the Disney Purge that's going to take place throughout all of 2024, impacting movies, television, and more, and there's no doubt about it that it's going to really tank the Disney stock further. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, one major development surrounding Jimmy Kimmel has a lot to do with his interactions with Disney and everything that has been happening behind the scenes. A lot of things have been unraveling amid the writer's strike coming close to an end, and really that vote actually getting put into, of course, place. Now, we know that there's a lot of things going on with Disney right now. Everything ranging from what they're trying to do to salvage the Marvels, what they're trying to do with Star Wars The Acolyte, which I think is a disgrace. And let's not forget about Snow White, the live-action remake. They have a lot of negatives on their plate that's really not working in their favor. And the latest has a lot to do with some serious complications with ABC and the Jimmy Kimmel Show. Now, we know that Jimmy Kimmel is, in my opinion, I don't know if you guys agree, quite insufferable. In fact, I'm going to add him to the Insufferables. You know, I like to use this as a little, joke, all in good fun. You got the Expendables, you got the Incredibles. Well, why don't we have the Insufferables, right? We have Brie Larson on there, Rachel Zegler, Amber Heard, and a whole lot more. Let's throw in Jimmy Kimmel. Now, one thing about this has a lot to do with Disney and their changes. Now, with late-night TV host Jimmy Kimmel over the years losing more and more members of his audience, one major development has to do with why he is now having very big issues with Disney amid the writer's strike nearing its conclusion. Disney is already pressing ABC and The Kimmel Show to move forward with some serious cutbacks. This is going to impact the number of bits and comedy sketches that he will be able to perform and do, as well as Disney is doubling down on becoming more tight with what Kimmel is allowed to discuss on his show. Disney reportedly does not want to give Jimmy as much freedom as he had before the writer's strike due to the ongoing reduction in ratings for Kimmel. Kimmel is already attempting to fight Disney over these new plans that are being pushed, that are coming directly from Bob Iger's cost containment plan, and putting a cap on what Kimmel is able to discuss on his show that is only creating more problems for Kimmel, Disney, and ABC and his entire writing team. Kimmel's show is now set to get serious cutbacks that will not only downgrade his production value, but also it is going to include having less guests on his show, moving onwards. And now Disney wants to explore different style bits for Kimmel that he is not agreeing with at all. Now, I don't know if you guys knew this, but this is not the first time that Kimmel had problems with Disney. He has had his issues with Disney before in the past. And look, I am not a supporter or a defender of Jimmy Kimmel in any way. In fact, I think that he is somebody that deserves to be taken off this show and removed from ABC entirely, get somebody else on board. In fact, you know what? It's quite sad what late night has become today. Not just that show in particular, but a lot of the shows. I'm not a huge fan of Fallon, not a huge fan of Kimmel at all, especially. I miss the days with Jay Leno. I miss the days with Conan O'Brien. I mean, that was peak late night television. That was where it was at. And I just feel that where it is now, with Seth Meyers, Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, the material just isn't really quite there, in my opinion. I was always, a big follower of Leno, like I said before, Conan O'Brien. They had some really good, innovative stuff on there. And they didn't get really too, diving into controversial aspects. But one thing about this is a lot to do with the fact that Kimmel is so egotistically driven to the point that he cannot take these new restrictions that are falling into place by Disney that is now impacting ABC, that is now also falling into his own show, and how his writing team and himself are really meeting a lot of these restrictions, and it's going to make their jobs a lot more hard and difficult to follow through. Now, we know that Kimmel is someone that really just uses this platform to kind of talk about what he wants to talk about on his mind, and a lot of that really isn't all that great. You know, we know that Kimmel really is, you know, one of the very individuals out there that has not only supported, you know, the most nonsense individuals on the planet, but we know that Disney is really trying to salvage whatever is left of their image at this point. You know, they know that Snow White is going to take a big bite out of all of that, so the next thing up is for Kimmel to really have those restrictions. Now, here's where things get complicated. Kimmel has also reportedly, of course, made an ultimatum with Disney to combat against these forced adjustments to his show in order to keep it going his way. Disney is already planning to use Kimmel's show as a vessel to promote Snow White 24 as much as possible in order to boost ticket sales, something that was agreed upon already before the writer's strike and before Jimmy Kimmel and Disney actually got involved in the strike, of course. Now, Kimmel had bits and comedy sketches planned for that movie, Snow White, that are now being axed by Disney beforehand ahead of the film's release in order to save their image as much as they can. In fact, initially, the actors of the 7 magical creatures, or the 7 dwarfs, were supposed to appear on Jimmy Kimmel, that are now being excluded and canceled from the show. Kimmel and his team are desperately trying to reverse Disney's entire strategy by Disney, as it will actually limit his jokes for television and will, without a doubt, lose more viewers and tank ratings further. Now again, this just goes to show you how serious of a situation Disney really is in. We know that Disney stock is not going to make a rebound. Not this year, and not certainly in the first quarter of 2024, based on everything that will happen with Snow White next year. But we know that this is a very prime example that Kimmel is going to go against Disney. They all begin to eat each other. That's how it all ends in the long run, right? They all eat their own. We have people like Disney who initially 100% supported Kimmel, gave him the ultimate freedom, and his writing team the freedom that they needed to do to make that show get as much ratings as possible, which, by the way, only hurt them in the long run, in the long-term effects. So now Disney's really just trying to double down and at least kind of become a little bit more restricted with what content can be displayed on Jimmy Kimmel's show. And look, I think that somebody else deserves to become the host of that show. You know, Disney or no Disney, somebody else, anybody, I think, would be better than Jimmy Kimmel. And this is how I see things. So there's a lot of problems happening because of Bob Iger. I mean, his cost containment plan is wreaking havoc across all of Disney, across the board. It doesn't matter if it's the parks, the movies, the shows. It's impacting everything, and it's going to further impact things in 2024 in a worse way. So overall, I would really love to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.
Night to moon, we hear them moans again.